just on Instagram on mine right now.
All right. Well, hey, hello. Happy New Year to everybody. We're back here at our little podcast we do every Thursday. I'm glad you're with us. Systems together because we're coming out on about 5 or 6 platforms. So we got more microphones here than I can count.
Yes,
we're going to condense this down eventually, but you'll just have to bear with us. So Keith with PrevailOverCancer.com, Keith Bishop, and Mr. Josh Fate with Ultra Botanica here in Oklahoma City. And yours truly, Paul, with Hyperbaric Plus here at 122nd and May in Oklahoma City. So Happy New Year. I don't know if you saw, was it yesterday they introduced the food pyramid? So I should have known what Keith was up to. So anyway, he shows up this morning. He goes, we're going to start doing the new food pyramid. So if you want to get the documentation online, you can find it at, go ahead, Keith,
Yes,
where can you find
at
it?
PrevailOverCancer.com, the Learning Center. I have a download. It'll be there for about a week until we have another seminar next week. Now we're finished with the holidays and back into more routine. So at PrevailOverCancer.com/Learning Center or Learning, I can't remember now, but the Learning tab. And down toward the bottom, I've got that handout. And then that's what I'm going to be referring to today because this is new information just released yesterday, and which goes right along with what we've always been talking about. Anyway.
Well, you've been in the new food pyramid for a long time.
That's right.
And you were telling us what the old one said, and I haven't looked at it in so long. I forgot. There was 6 to 7.
Oh, yeah. Well, the original, there was actually, there's been 2 previous pyramids. And so one was back in like 2005, I think it was. And they were actually recommending like 7 or 8 servings of grains a day. And that was the base of the pyramid, the bottom big part of the pyramid. And then is, vegetables, fruit, and fats. And then protein was kind of at the top, like a little bit of protein a day. And which I never did like that. Matter of fact, I had a pharmacy that was inside a grocery store. And when they first came out with that pyramid, they were also saying that fats were bad for you. And so everything was low fat and no fat. And this grocery store we had, and I'm not going to say the name of this because I don't want to get sued, but it was a muffin, a big old muffin. It was like this big, fat-free, fat-free, fat-free. It was like 1,100 calories in that muffin. Well, needless to say, that's part of the reason why everybody started gaining weight. And they're getting too many carbohydrates. We can only burn, in our bodies, we're sitting here right now, and it depends on your body size, but we're burning.
I like how you look at me when you say.
Well, you're bigger than I am. You have a lot more muscle, so you're going to burn more.
He
Josh
used to be as big as I was.
Josh has got more muscle than me, so they're actually burning more calories than I am just sitting here. But I'm burning like 75 calories an hour right now. So if I had a carbohydrate, a grain, or a sugar beverage of 100 calories, or 150 calories, like a soda pop, I just put on 75 calories of fat just in a short time period. So because those are instant sugars, or if we can't burn them, we got to store it. And we're going to store that excess into fat. So that's been the problem. And it's stressing and suggesting that we eat a lot of carbohydrates and processed foods, and that's part of the problem too. And actually the fruit, I'm not as concerned about the fruits and vegetables as I am about the processed foods, containing those carbohydrates and the grains and things like that. So breads, cakes, cookies, candies, beverages, we've got to be very careful about those.
I don't know if I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. What has really blown my mind, I made a comment in the chamber one day that to read, when you pick up something off the store shelf, if it has more than one ingredient, put it back.
Yes.
And I can't believe how many people have said, Paul, you've destroyed my shopping. I can't tell you how many times I got ready to set something in my cart and it's processed.
Right.
I've been buying all this processed stuff. And it really has made an impact just thinking of that every time you pick up something.
Exactly.
So it's doable.
It is doable. Now, my wife does not like going shopping with me. And so, matter of fact, she makes a point not to go with me. And so, because I'm going to be reading those labels. Now, not everybody's on that same field and thought. Like my wife, she doesn't care as much about that. But I'm going to look at those labels. And, matter of fact, I share, at least two stories a day on social media about foods like that, about whether it's good or not, and looking at the labels, those ingredients. There's the Food Babe, another one about labels. There's several different accounts that go into that too, and learning to read those food labels, but it needs to be simple. Keep it super simple. More than one ingredient we need to be careful about. Like a bread, if it says it's got whole grain wheat and salt.
Or enriched.
Well, if it's got one or two ingredients, it's okay, but if it's enriched and you've got 4 to 12 or 20 items, that's when we're going to run into problems.
Well, and so much of it was designed to make it addictive.
Yes,
That's
right.
the deal with the processed foods, is it was inexpensive in theory on the upfront, then without regard to the medical cost associated with it, but it was
Correct.
designed to make you want more.
Yes, and quite a science, actually.
Yeah.
So not just people actually sitting around a table, they fix the food and see how they respond to it, but there's more science than that to it. But there's even certain types of taste buds, and they know what the taste buds like. And matter of fact, it's kind of interesting, but all of the large food companies are owned by the original tobacco companies. And so they made tobacco, they added ingredients to the tobacco to make it addictive.
Everybody thinks it's nicotine.
Yeah, the nicotine may not be the issue. I'm going to put that as a qualifying statement, may not be the issue, because I don't want social media to block us again. so we have to be careful sometimes what we say. But but the ingredients are what they add to the tobacco and what they add to the food. So we want to go back and get more than just one chip.
I got something important to say, and then I want you to
Okay.
get on with your deal.
Okay.
So how do we find the list that is in the umbrella of natural flavors?
Oh. Well, you can do an AI, and AI has that information. And you can actually say, what this particular food says natural ingredients, what are those natural ingredients? And natural doesn't have to be natural.
Well, it says natural flavors.
I know, it
and
says
I've been
natural
wanting to
flavors,
try to
right.
identify that.
Well, there are lists available on that.
Okay.
And so, and there's some loopholes. They can use ingredients that are in the processing mechanism, and like in the manufacturing mechanism, that aren't food, that can still be in the natural ingredient, that are used as a chemical in that process, and they don't have to claim it.
And we're not going to find it in this food pyramid.
No.
No.
And so actually, but that's what Secretary Kennedy is trying to promote, is it needs to be unprocessed food.
right.
It needs to be simple foods, unprocessed. If we are, if that ingredient list is more than 2 or 3 items, we've got a problem with that. So matter of fact, there's actually been such a movement on this already that several food companies are having to change their manufacturing process, and they're actually retooling, laying off people. I'm sad to say that is happening, but they're already changing their manufacturing processes. And so like the processed meat companies, people are not using and consuming as much processed meats. Several companies are having to retool and revamp their systems.
Well, thank you.
Sure. Yes. So food pyramid. So we have a free handout. Just by the way, as a reminder, you can get a handout at prevailovercancer.com, the Learning Center. Hyperbarics.plus probably has it on their website too, or they will. And then if you have a question, submit your question. Ryan is here with us today, so he's gathering the questions, and he's going to give us a printout. And so we have a Q&A session too at the end of this little talk. I'm going to refer to this so I can make sure I keep on track. But I guess so yesterday, the U.S. federal government released information about the new food pyramid. Matter of fact, it's kind of interesting. So they're trying to make it very impactful and memorable. And what they do, they turn the food pyramid upside down. And so, and several reasons. Part of that is so that it's just different. And also, literally, they are turning it upside down. And so now the bottom part of that food pyramid is it's going to be the grains, and then the proteins and fats and vegetables are at the top. So but they first came out with that, let's see here, in 1992. I was incorrect on that date earlier, but it's 1992. The first food pyramid came out, and once again, that's, like I said, I had a pharmacy, and they were doing those kind of things, and I didn't approve of that then. And then they updated it to what's called My Plate. A president and his wife changed it, and there were some improvements in that, but still it was heavy in the grains, and grains of processed foods and breads and all the different grains. And grains are also, that's actually what we feed animals to fatten them up, okay, in the feedlot. We give them the corn, we give them the grains, whatever, and there's many different types of grains, but that's what they're used to feed and fatten the animals up before, slaughtering them. So in being a mammal, we also can gain too much weight from those excess carbohydrates. So
I was actually reading something about that,
Okay.
that they were saying that most of those feedlot animals would die of the induced disease associated with grain consumption if we weren't taking them to slaughter anyway.
Yeah,
they
would.
live a normal life.
Exactly. The fat
Yeah.
that occurs from those grains, the excess fatty, in the muscle, happens elsewhere.
Yeah, causes
in
the same heart issues, all the same
everything.
things we see in ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, that's right. So anyway, they did do some improvements, but one thing that's very important, my specialty now is cancer. Cancer rates are going up, especially in young people. And used to, it was, people that were in their 60s or 70s, 80s got cancer. Now we have a lot more people that are younger getting colorectal, colon cancer. And a definite part of that is the foods that they're eating since a child. So
Right.
now they're 30 years old. For 30 years, they've been eating this food program, and there's still other things. There's activity levels, and how the food is packaged is another, I think, important part. To-go containers, getting fast foods, once again, that's the worst situation because we don't have any idea what's in that. Although you can search and find out, what are those, is it 11 or 17 spices in that fried chicken?
Right,
Okay.
right.
You can find out, what those spices are now. And so that information is out there. But anyway, so cancer rates are going up, and part of it has to do with that. So once again, Kennedy is bringing out this new food pyramid. So I have a picture of that, and so I know we're far away from the kitchen, but so once again, the food pyramid is upside down. I have a bigger picture even put on here. So the upside down, and so the bottom part is going to be the grains, and then fruit. And so fruit is okay. Matter of fact, I have actually a special fruit list for my cancer clients, but fruits are okay. You have to be careful about the quantity, but it's kind of a little bit lower on this list. They have more sugars in them. And then we get into the vegetables and the dairy products and the other fats from dairy, milk, and animal fats, but higher fats and proteins are at the very top. And so, matter of fact, for my clients, I always say, even with cancer type things, every time we eat, we need to be thinking, am I getting some protein?
Right.
Without going overboard. So I'm not talking about, a high protein diet. I'm talking about sufficient protein. Matter of fact, even people with anxiety and depression and addiction tendencies, every single time that I've worked with a client with that, they were not getting or absorbing enough protein.
Yeah.
The brain requires a protein and fats, so to be healthy and to operate appropriately. So depression and anxiety, often low protein. So this should help out with that. So let's see here, go to my list, make sure I'm staying on track with that. So the top part, the most important part is going to be the protein, full fat, and vegetables. And so do I need to put that on?
Oh, I'm gonna
Put that right there. Okay, good.
Go ahead.
Okay, good. Okay, and so the top, number one is going to be protein, full fat, dairy, and vegetables at the top. That's going to be the largest amount. Once again, every time we're eating, we need to be thinking, are we getting some protein? Protein doesn't have to be meat. And so vegetable protein counts toward this. And so that includes legumes. So beans and lentils are an excellent source of protein and of fiber and anti-cancer ingredients. So that's part of that. And then the middle part, kind of moderate amounts, are going to be the healthy fats, olive oil, avocado, butter, beef tallow, and fruits. And then the bottom part, the smallest parts, are going to be the whole grains. Refined grains are discouraged entirely. And so that goes back into if it says more than just wheat on it, for example, or more than just oats, it's going to be a processed grain. And so that's going to be a problem.
And if you want to get a little more granular on that, granular in grains, but sprouted grains are a little bit healthier
Yes.
than others. So same thing if you're using flour or some of the other stuff made with whole grain, but whole sprouted grain is
Yes,
going to be much
and there are
healthier
some.
for you.
Matter of fact, there are some. The two types of bread, for example. And matter of fact, people go, "Oh no, how am I going to eat my sandwich?" Well, actually, two types of breads are sourdough bread. The bacteria that in that bread digests the carbs, creates gas, and rises that bread. So it's actually a low-carb bread. And then the sprouted grains.
Right.
And so they take the grains and they sprout those, first in water, and then they make the bread out of that. Like one brand is Ezekiel bread. There's other brands out there now. And so it's a different consistency. Not everybody likes that,
Right.
but it is a different consistency. Matter of fact, if you think back to what was bread like, 200 years ago, 2,000 years ago, that's what we need to be doing.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, if we talk about the Bible times, 2 to 5,000 years ago, when they took grain, they ground it up, added oil to it, and cooked it. That was all. And then, in Moses' time, when they left Egypt, they didn't take leaven with them, so the bread didn't rise. They didn't have yeast. And so that's the purpose of the yeast, is actually to grow on the carbs to make it rise and make it fluffy on that. So another thing that's important also is, I'll talk about that. Yeah, I'll go ahead and say it since I was thinking of it, is alcohol. So in the past, back 25 years ago, they were saying that, oh yeah, everybody can have a couple of drinks, moderation, couple of drinks, alcohol drinks a day could be no problem. And then they changed that in 2011 and said, well, is men more like one alcohol drink a day, and women actually none. And now actually they're saying more like no alcohol. And so alcohol increases the risk of many different health issues and cancer, actually, more specifically. So there's a question as if any alcohol is actually safe because of it creates some cancer-causing chemicals. And then even distilled spirits that are distilled in the burnt oak or the barrels, that yellowish color of a distilled spirit, that's a carcinogen. So dark colored distilled spirits are a concern with just that alone. So along with what is the coloring that they put in soda pops? Are you familiar with that? Caramel color, that is a carcinogen.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes, It is a carcinogen. And so that caramel color, it is not natural. It is a carcinogen.
Yeah, those beverages would be clear without it.
Yes, they'd be clear without that caramel color. And so that is a major concern. So key recommendations in this diet is going to be a much higher protein intake. So, they're saying it's 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram. So I didn't calculate that out.
I've always used around 60 grams of protein a day is a proper diet, give or take.
And so, matter of fact, my clients, most of you all are familiar with, I go by the palm rule, and that means a palm, and I have to explain that a little bit because some people do get confused about it, but a palm means the circumference, diameter, if you want to call it that, and the thickness of the palm of your hand. So if you have a piece of meat, animal protein that's the size of the palm of your hand, that's enough protein for one meal out of 3. Okay?
And
so
you need to spread that around.
Well,
You don't want to eat all your protein at once.
yeah, and so you got to divide that up. So that's like one meal, but you need to do that 3 different times a day to get that protein. So you can only absorb so much at one time anyway. And so, but that's going to be about, it depends on the size of the body. So actually, your palm is bigger than mine. So yes, so you need more, than I do, for those meals. And then, let's see, and then a female that's 100 pounds, her hand's going to be smaller than mine, and so she doesn't need as much. So that female is probably going to be more like 15 grams of protein for a meal, and where mine's going to be more like 20, and yours is probably going to be more like 25 grams of protein at a meal. And so you have to get enough protein. So alcohol is not, it should be a very rare type of a thing, on that. So it's not it is not listed in this diagram on that. So full fat dairy is encouraged, 3 servings of full fat dairy per day. And this is quite different from what they've been saying in the past.
Yeah.
And so, now, and I'm going to, and I do keep saying this, but there's still something about dairy I'm going to be cautious about with men with prostate cancer. So there's studies showing that a higher dairy intake of any type of dairy does increase the risk of prostate cancer. So until we learn more at this time, I only consume 1 or 2 servings of dairy a week. So it's not like I totally avoid it, but I do not consume much of it.
But avoid the 2% and the no.
Yeah.
I mean, there's what they do to get it to that is a whole nother
It's
story.
a processed food.
But you should be looking at whole milk.
Yes,
true product.
That's right. When I do get whole milk, if I make some ice cream, and I'm going to use whole milk, whole fat cream.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be using low fat, type of items. That's correct. So, and then let's see, healthy fats promoted include saturated fats from whole food sources. We keep talking about dairy and meats, and but also vegetables. And so, like avocados, olives. What else?
I don't know. I'm stuck on avocado toast. There's nothing better than a little bit of sourdough bread.
Sourdough with some avocado on it. Mm-hmm. It would be good. So so those type of plant fats are great. We run into seed oils are not on this list. Okay, so seed oils are a processed food. So combination, they just don't squish that oil out. They have to process it, clean it, bleach it, do several things for it to look appealing. So most seed oils I'm not a fan of. And so seed oils officially are not part of this type program.
Just in general, if you're not doing it, vegetable oil is a no.
Correct.
Period. So if you're cooking, use coconut MCT or avocado oil in place of it, and you won't notice the difference, or olive oil.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, definitely you want to replace that.
That's right. So ultra processed foods, strongly discouraged. So chips, a package, if it's in a package, if you can read the ingredients, that means, we need to be reading those ingredients, okay, just to double check that. But if chips, crackers, packaged breakfast foods, sugary cereals, avoiding sugar. So evidently part of this program is also less than 10 milligrams of sugar per meal. That 10 milligrams, that's nothing.
Yeah.
That is nothing, compared to what most foods have in them.
Well, and before, they were all promoting cereal and everything else,
Right.
which is just loaded with
Frosted,
it.
whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly. So those things are not, part of the list. Here's the alcohol. Once again, you can get the download on my website, the Learning Center, and if you have questions, submit those questions so we can answer that. And then alcohol no longer gives a daily limit. Minimizing alcohol is important. Grains are de-emphasized. So it was a foundation in 1992. Now it's actually just the opposite, turning that pyramid upside down. It's actually the smallest category. Whole grains, can be allowed. Matter of fact, one of my clients yesterday was talking about that. So she actually does take whole grains, grinds that up, and makes her bread, and that would be okay.
It's great.
Yeah.
I found a place that uses Italian heritage seed.
Okay.
They started growing it here organically, so it's
Yeah.
it's the original grains.
Yeah,
and yet there's no no comparison to how it tastes, but what it's doing in your body.
Yeah, that's right. So very healthy type thing. So refined grains are definitely not part of it. So and then a summary, on that, I'm just going to go over the new guidelines. I'm not going to hash over the bad stuff, that we've been doing. We need to move forward in making changes. And matter of fact, we can't be perfect. We just need to start making changes. So we can't take this information and apply it instantly, but we can start making changes. So the pyramid is upside down now, and there's several places on the internet that you can get this. Matter of fact, even I made another smaller one just trying to make it simpler, a little tiny one about being careful about the grains. So foundation is going to be protein, dairy, and vegetables. Protein is the largest category. Double the intake compared to what they used to recommend. So it depends on the body size. So a 100-pound female is not going to need as much as the 200-pound guy. So the 200-pound guy is going to need twice as much. Used to, they said that everybody needs 50 grams of protein. Well, the 50-pound female does. The 200-pound guy may need 100. Okay, so that's what we're trying to show with that. So the foundation includes the protein, dairy, and vegetables. The largest category is going to be the proteins now and fats. They doubled that intake. Dairy, full-fat dairy is encouraged. Be careful about the fact if you have a personal or family history of prostate cancer, and about how much dairy that you consume. Even with that, still go for the full fat, the real stuff. And actually, there's even some dairies, like some cheeses may not be as much of a concern if it comes from goat or lamb, compared to cow that's from the United States, that who knows for sure what they've been doing with those cows.
Well, and that, I mean, I always go back, grass-fed,
Sure.
regenerative meat, milk.
Sure.
If you're doing that, you're going to
Minimize,
mitigate your
yeah.
exposure to the
Exactly.
bad stuff.
That's right.
Because even if they say it's organic, that just means they're giving them organic corn.
Yes,
In
correct.
a lot
yeah.
of cases.
And so fats, healthy fats are encouraged, including even saturated fats, but not seed oils. Sugars, the matter of fact, so there's evidently now Kennedy has a war on sugar. And so, 10 milligrams per meal, which is just not even a pinch of sugar in a meal. Processed foods, strongly discouraged. And so we want to be reading those food labels, and then alcohol minimized to just like a very rare occasional type thing. So matter of fact, most of those beverages are actually pretty processed too, so alcohol beverages. Okay, so what kind of questions do we have? What kind of questions do you have?
You kind of caught me off. I'm looking down at number 6.
Number
I was
six.
going to say too,
Okay.
the way they've inverted the food pyramid now, if you're into timing how you eat your meal, that's also going to naturally, you're going to be more sated with the protein up front.
Yes.
You're going to naturally take in a healthier caloric intake by eating in that order as well.
Yeah, so carbohydrates will give you, a processed carbohydrate will give you energy for 1 hour, or sugar, 1 hour, and it's gone, and now you're hungry again. You've got to go back and eat again. Fats will give you energy for about 3 hours, and so more of a satisfied feeling. And protein will give you energy for 4 to 5 hours. And so so that does make a difference on when you're eating. So, a matter of fact, another part of this, but they're not officially going into that, but I am a big fan of intermittent fasting, daily intermittent fasting most days, and then even, having a day of the week where you don't fast is okay too. And then even short-term fasting, like 2 or 3 days a month, it can be a great item. And matter of fact, even there's studies showing that fasting during chemotherapy treatments enhances the effectiveness, reduces the side effects, various different things like that. So fasting, so we have to be careful about how many calories. And then we talked about, before the holidays got here, we were talking about what to do, but eating nuts and seeds. That's part of the fats, and I didn't really mention that, but that's part of the fats.
Yeah.
Fats and protein. I'm a big proponent. I eat actually 2 servings of nuts and seeds every day. That's one of my protein sources. So I get 3 a day. I eat 2 meals, and then I eat 2 snacks of nuts and seeds.
And it's a good uptake. Kind of it handles the I might be hungry issue, but it's a good energy uptake.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It
you
is.
get a
So
boost.
perfect thing before.
The nuts?
Pardon?
Can you specify the nuts and seeds?
Yeah, the nuts and seeds, actually, almost any of them. And from a cancer standpoint, walnuts have the most research supporting the anti-cancer effect of nuts and seeds. But, actually all of them, really all of them. Cashews are the one that actually is a little bit more starchy and sugary, and cashews may not be quite as good. It's actually quite different.
They're sweet. I like them in a mix just because they have
They're
that
a little sweeter.
sweet to
They're
it.
sweeter. That's right. So
But-
almonds are great. Almonds, pecans are great. Pistachios.
Brazil nuts
Brazil
are
nut-
awesome for you.
Brazil nuts are great, although I recommend only one Brazil nut a day because it does have selenium that we have to have, and appropriate selenium intake is great and reduces the risk of cancer. High amounts of selenium may increase the risk of some cancers. So eating one Brazil nut a day and taking a multivitamin with selenium may not be good. That could be now you're getting double the recommended daily allowance of selenium on that. So what did I miss on 6 here? Stay away from ultra processed foods. Go for whole foods. And so, matter of fact, there's a health food store, company here in the United States called Whole Foods. That's kind of interesting. But whole natural foods, and then higher protein. Matter of fact, even already, the American Medical Association has actually applauded this change. Not all medical groups are on board. Some of them are fighting this. They don't necessarily like it, but there is a lot of research supporting that. So some of these concerns that they are presenting is that that saturated fats may increase the risk of heart disease, but
I tell you, Dr. McCary's
You
book,
have
and I don't know, when they were talking about that yesterday, somebody asked that question, and Kennedy said, let's have Dr. McCary answer that because he wrote about it in his book. And it's a misnomer, and we've been misdirected for years.
So they're already, they are, once again, we have the data research, supporting these changes. And then, so we have to be careful about the processed meats and the sodium that's included with that. So the processed meats like bologna, salami, sausage, bacon, those are preserved with sodium and sodium nitrate, sodium nitrite or nitrate. And so the high amounts of salt is not good. So we have to be careful about, once again, that's a processed food that sits on the shelf for a long time. They add preservatives to it to help keep that from being a problem. So yes, did that answer your question on the nuts good enough? Okay, yeah, so, and my recommendation, I really can't say anything about any bad ones except for maybe, the cashews are just not on my preference on that. Now, there are certain beans that there are actually certain one type of bean that I'm not a fan of here in the United States, and it's actually a similar word in Europe, but it means a different thing. It's baked beans. So canned baked beans, if you read the ingredients, it's a processed food. First thing is, it's a bean. Second ingredient is sugar. Third ingredient is sugar. Fourth ingredient is sugar, okay? So baked beans are not good. Baked, B-E-N-Z, in Europe is actually beans with tomatoes. Those are okay. So those in Europe, don't jump all over me on that. So there is a difference between North American baked beans and European baked beans. So with that.
To kind of just touch on it, the different salts. Salt, no iodine, pink or Himalayan, or I don't know how, I do Redmond. And I put it in every time I have a drink of water. I put a little pinch of that salt in there to keep my mineral level right. But can you speak to the salt?
Sure.
And then the reason we're using allulose for me is ice cream, but I have no sugar in the house. I don't need sugar in the house. I've really eliminated my sweet tooth, and allulose fills that need. So just, those are two basic things that we all want. What's the best way
Yeah,
to do?
So salt, so the pink Himalayan or Redmonds, and so matter of fact, even my horses get Redmonds. They make a livestock version, of that. And matter of fact, it looks the same. It's actually the same exactly thing. But a block of it I put out for my horses, and so I could just go out and chip that off and use that at home. And then, and so matter of fact, what are my horses? If I give something to my horses, I'm willing to take it myself. And so, so I'm very careful about what I do with them. But so those are good sources, but maybe one of the better sources, because it has less toxic metals, is actually going to be evaporative sea salt. And so there's some from Europe and from Mexico. There's a Baja Gold, I think they call it Baja Gold sea salt, that actually is very low in lead. And so the problem with some of the other salts is that they do have other things besides salt in them. So when you look at the actual ingredients, like for my horse salt, they actually have listed what is in that, the breakdown of the other minerals that they need. There's a little bit of iodine, a tiny bit of iodine, a little bit of zinc, and different, even a little bit of copper in that salt. And that's normal because things coming from the ground are going to have minerals and metals. So, but evaporative or evaporated sea salt might be the best option, for a little bit better mineral and metal, toxicity type issues. And then allulose is a great item to add to things. And so is it about, you're an expert about allulose, so you like that a lot. So is allulose is it a one-to-one measure, like if you
I
substitute?
use it one-to-one. Most of the literature
sugar.
will tell you, for sugar. Most of the literature will tell you 1.1, 1.2 to 1, but I don't notice a difference at 1-to-1. And I started it with my grandkids because I wanted them, if they're going to have ice cream at my house, I wanted it to be something healthy, and
Right.
we like it. It's got a natural GLP-1 characteristic to it, so it does.
So what does the GLP-1 do?
It does curb your appetite. It starts helping with it, just like your Ozempics and all the other stuff. But it's natural. But I make cookies with it with 90% cacao chunks in it, and the healthy flour. And it's a cheat, but it's a health. I've justified it as a healthy cheat.
Healthier.
Healthier cheat.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Yes. Okay. So what other questions do we have at the table?
What brand of allulose do you recommend?
So there's an allulose with monk fruit, which I accidentally bought one time, and I sent it back and got the other.
I can't remember the brand. I'll have to look at it. But I use an organic allulose that is good.
Yeah. So there are some organic or non-genetically modified versions of that. So they actually start off with another sugar, and a plant sugar, and then they process that. They manufacture it in a chemical heat process to make the allulose. And so allulose is a sugar that our body has a difficult time using, and so it doesn't appear to be raising blood glucose and things like that, and have
Yeah,
other.
you won't see it if you're wearing a CGM. You won't see any blood sugar spikes with it. You won't see an insulin response to
Okay.
it.
Okay, Q&A time. So, matter of fact, if you all at the table, if you have any questions, or yes, a question.
Okay, in Shetty, there's a guy he's making whiskey, bourbon, and he takes the mash and feeds out kids, butchers them, and sells the meat. Would that be good or bad, or?
So he's taking the mash from the alcohol,
Yeah.
that he's making, and the moonshine that he's making, and taking that mash, which is carbohydrates and sugars, and feeding it to the goats,
Cattle.
cattle. Okay, cattle. Yeah, to fatten them up. Well, I'm not an expert in that. I haven't thought through that, but I would say that, it is a carbohydrate, and it is, if the cows eat more carbs than they can burn off, they're going to get fatter and marbleize the meat. And that's what they're kind of going for with that. So I don't know. I personally wouldn't it is natural. I mean, it depends on what he's putting in there. So.
And it kind of depends. I know
Yeah, I'm kinda,
with hemp, I had a farmer that is pretty interesting. Pulled the oil out of it, then they fermented it and made moonshine with it, and it still had a 32% protein content
Yeah.
in the after. So it kind of depends on what the grains are. And
Yeah, matter of fact, I can't say that's bad because I do know what some other farms do and some dairy farms do, and I know how they take those foods and create a silage, and ferment and add chemicals to that to help it to ferment and change into a form that's more easily digested, and so those carbs are more easily absorbed by the cattle. So I can't say it's bad. I don't know. Good question. So about feeding mash to the cattle on that. So, okay. Okay, well, if y'all have questions, let me know. I'm going to go through some of these questions here, but let me know if you have questions. Okay, Paul, this one's for you.
Oh,
sorry.
bring it on.
Is hyperbaric safe for everyone?
There's very few people that can't get in. There's a new hearing aid that we just ran into that is the battery. Well, actually, they take the hearing aid out, throw it in the trash, and put a new one in for $300 a month. Every month, you swap out the hearing aid, and they're not rated for atmospheric pressure.
Okay.
So most all the implants today are rated, and they'll have a card with them. If you've ever seen implants, they come with a card, and a lot of times on that card it'll have a total ATA, which we go to 2.5 ATA. About the minimum I see on implants anymore is about 4 ATA, all the way up to 8. But that's something we have to check, and that really is the only. I mean, we have a lot of people that are compromised. I'll use that word. They're here to get better, and there's very few people that are not able to get in the chamber. Chemo, we have to be careful with chemo. We need a 48-hour wait. If you just did a chemo, we wait 48 hours before you get in. But anyway, if you go to our site and say, hey, just fake it out and say, I want to do a hyperbaric session, when you try to purchase, it's going to send you to do all the
Questionnaire.
questionnaire so that you can see if there's any reason you can't get in.
Okay.
You don't have to purchase to find that out. So anyway, that's the paperwork we do on the front end.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Okay, good. So let's see. What is the best ratio formula for B17 and dose? I'm not allowed to talk about that on social media, so we won't go into that. Is hyperbaric activity, is hyperbaric actually safe for everyone, or are there people that shouldn't do it?
Well, I mean, think of it as scuba diving. If you have any question about should I do this or not, we don't use oxygen, so we're just using room air. If you have any questions about should I or should I not do it, go to your doctor and if you say you want to do hyperbaric session, a lot of times instantly a red flag comes up and they go, oh my God, no, you're not going to do that. But if you say, hey, I want to go scuba diving to 52 feet, I want to go scuba diving to 75 feet, whatever, just ask if you're cleared to go scuba diving at that footage. And that's a really good way to find out where you're at.
What about ears?
So ears, you have to be able to equalize. As you're landing in an airplane, you have pressure on your ears. A lot of people chew gum. You always see people in an airplane chewing gum on the landing. Another way is the Valsalva, by holding your nose and trying to blow air out your ears. And we have multiple ways to clear ears if you get hung up. And unlike an airplane, we can stop. We can even go back up.
Right.
The pilot's not going to do that. He's going to go blaring into the airport, and you just better hold on. So we do have the luxury of a controlled descent.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is give us a level off sign, and we wait until you catch up.
So that reminds me of a story. I'll go ahead and tell it. Okay, so I was driving up to the mountains to go snow skiing, and going up a pass, and the pass was about 10,000 feet, and we weren't all the way to the top, and all of a sudden there was this explosion in my car. And I had no idea. I pulled off the side of the road. Was it a tire? No. And it was a bag of chips. Exploded.
There was Lay's everywhere.
Anyway, that was, yeah, so pressure changes, really. And that was, of course, we're going from 1,000 feet, to 10,000 feet. That's a big change, so, with that. So is it good to eat sourdough bread if I had breast cancer? So sourdough bread, I do not know of any concerns about that. It's still a quantity issue. So I use the palm rule actually is 3 palms of food for a meal. So if you had, 2 pieces of sourdough bread, that's the size of the palm of your hand, and a piece of meat with that, that's 3 palms of food. So that could be okay. I don't know being concerned about sourdough bread, with that. So sourdough bread is lower carbs than most others, along with the sprouted grains. Is sugar actually worse than fat, or is it just something that people say? Sugar is worse than fat. And so fat is a natural food that has been around forever. Sugar is a processed food. Sugar is not, actually, it's made from beets or cane or something like that, but it's processed, and it's not just one thing. It's actually sugar has 2 different sugars in it. And so it's a processed food. And so it is really different. It's not healthy. And so I just don't use it.
And American diets are actually kind of low in fat.
Yes.
There are a lot of studies out about that, and we need it. We're designed for it.
Yes. I want to thank Dave Asprey with his bulletproof coffee thing. We've talked about that before, and about adding fats to a beverage and drinking that. And that was how he, in another country, when he was climbing the mountains, that's how he got started doing that. That was their breakfast type of item. It was drinking a hot tea. It wasn't a traditional tea, but a hot tea with yak milk, which was a high-fat milk. And so he's the one that really probably got all this started almost 10 years ago.
Well, I hit a little speed bump during the holidays, but I'm back on track. And by starting the bulletproof coffee, my body composition now is going different. My jeans, I put on my jeans this morning. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? So I'm anxious to get into. I use one of the scales.
Yes,
that have-
Biome scale.
So I use one of those, and everything's moving the right way, and I'm pretty excited. And all I changed was start drinking
Getting back to that.
coffee.
Yes. So it kind of,
Huh?
What's your recipe?
I will send it out in our next. We'll talk in a little bit. So you're adding what looks like a pat of butter and a pat of MCT oil, and then I'm having mushroom coffee,
Yeah.
and so I mix
great.
all that up, and all of that is really starting to move the needle. I was surprised.
it actually primes the body to burn fat.
Right.
Oh, it's doing, yeah, and with the mushroom constituents in it, there's so many things going on at a cellular level that,
Right.
yeah.
So neat things.
So what type of cheeses are good to eat? And so once again, more of a whole fat. Matter of fact, that's another area that Secretary Kennedy is going to be, pushing. I think we're going to learn more about that. Is some of the ingredients that are used in most cheeses made in the United States is a chemical that comes from a major chemical company that is always creating all kinds of problems for us. But it's a rennet, ingredient. And so instead of natural sources for enzymes.
Is it on the ingredient list?
Yes,
if I'm
but it's kind of
consuming it-
hidden. It's actually kind of hidden. Sometimes they're starting to say that on there, but we're going to see a change in that. So, so actually, maybe A2 dairy would be a great thing to be looking for. Trying to go for pasture raised and fed cattle, or the same type of things for goat and lamb. And so goat cheeses, are some of my favorite, and that's where I'm trying to go for. And so those are actually very popular in Europe. Europe has some dairy cattle cheeses that are great too. And so it depends on those cultures they use to, grow that.
And pay attention to it also. If you use shredded cheese in anything, shred your own, because they actually add something to that, so it'll stay a little harder when they run it through the shredders.
Yes.
And it's something you don't want in
Yeah,
your-
so matter of fact, I bought a shredder, and kind of like when you go to the restaurant, and they, here, you want some cheese? Well, we're doing that now.
Yeah.
And so we're shredding our own cheese as we need it. And very simple to do, and a great idea on that. So yes, they actually do add chemicals to keep that separated so it won't clump together.
Yep.
So that's more
Kind of a
processed
white
food.
powdery looking stuff. I mean, I see that.
I can't remember what it is. All I know is as soon as I saw that,
Done.
I don't buy shredded cheese
Yeah,
ever.
yeah. So, you know, and matter of fact, this goes with the next question that somebody has here. It says, why do doctors say one thing about food and then change their minds every few years? Well, part of it is learning. And so, you know, it's a learning process. And it takes data. It takes research, you know, whether it be animal or first a laboratory, animal, and then human studies, gathering the data. It takes time to learn. And I understand your question on that and your concern, but it's just a learning process. So we're always learning and adapting. It's always going to be, matter of fact, what we're saying today, next week, or next year, or 2 years from now is going to be different.
And I think in the medical community, a lot of it is dogma. You know, you've made you staked your ground on a certain position, and it takes more time to overcome that versus people who are out there. We're a little more fluid. We're able to read current science, and we stay up on it. And most of them are not doing that. They've made a position, and
that's right. So, you know, one of the things I'd like to think of became popular the past few years is critical thinking. And so, you know, we need to be responsible for our health and be learning and not relying on somebody else or a government to take care of us.
right.
And so the data's out there, the information's out there, and research is being done, and we can react quicker than a larger company or a government agency can. So it's just going to happen.
The way I explain all that, because everybody that comes here is doing their own AI deep dive into whatever they're dealing with. And we don't want that to take over. We don't want that to be our basis. We want that to be a way for us to generate questions.
Right.
To take to our provider and say, this is what I found, where does this stand with you, and get their opinion on it. It's not that you're trying to find your own path as much as you're trying to generate the questions to ask.
Right. And yes, AI isn't always right.
Yeah,
I can
right.
guarantee that every single
Yeah.
day I find that. But it's a great tool, but it is not right always.
Nope.
And so I have to review every single thing that comes out of that.
And you should use it to lead you to the study,
Yes.
not to give you the answer.
Exactly. Exactly. Matter of fact, many times a day, I see information incorrect coming from that. And so, is bone broth good? Yes. So bone broth, once again, from ideal, you know, pasture-raised cattle, things like that are my preference. But yes, bone broth is a great way to, you know, for nutrients. Matter of fact, stewing or taking that roast and stewing that and leaving that bone in there, you know, while you're making that, you know, or putting like after Christmas, or actually after Thanksgiving, we put the turkey carcass and made the bone broth from that, you know, for our soup the next day. I'm all about it. I love
It's
that.
super
Hey, you
good
know-
for your collagen.
Yes,
uh,
collagen,
bioavailable
and
collagen
minerals, and
intake.
collagen and protein.
So I told my daughter my problem with doing that and creating that broth, and guess what I got for Christmas? Silicone containers that you pour that broth up into, throw it in the freezer, freezes it into cubes. Now it's in the freezer, always ready to go. You just
Yeah.
take the cubes out.
And
So you dump them out every time
Right.
you make them, and it's frozen, you dump them out. And now it's really simple to come up with, I mean, you can make a serving out of, for soup.
yeah,
Or you can get a bigger one if you're doing a bigger dish.
yeah.
It's really handy. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
So if someone has breast cancer, is it okay to eat stuff like sourdough bread and cheese, or should they avoid it? So definitely sourdough bread appropriately, you know, could be an option. I actually want more nutrient dense food. So, you know, sourdough bread is okay. It could be a part of a program, but I'm going for the darker colored foods because I want the polyphenols, the antioxidants, things that are going to repair the body, repair the DNA, keep the DNA from going bad and turning into cancer, things like that. So sourdough bread definitely is okay, and cheeses are okay as part of a program. But once again, I'm actually going for the vegetables and fruit. You know, is the part that repairs our body.
Well, and especially if if you have a suppressed appetite because of the treatment you're going through, you want a little more nutrient than what you're getting in those. So those might be craving or kind of I don't know if soul food's the right word for it, but comfort foods, but you do want to take stuff that's going to
Right.
be a little more nutritious.
So, okay, another question, is whey protein acceptable? Yes, it is. It is a processed food, but it definitely is okay. Matter of fact, actually, they first started, actually, most people don't know this, but whey protein originally was actually junk and trash until they found out, actually, it was a byproduct of other dairy processes, and they were throwing it away, and then they found out they could feed it to the pigs and help them to grow and gain more muscle mass. And so actually, but whey protein, there's actually a lot of studies showing that it helps out with cancer.
Yeah, it's a healthy.
Yeah.
It's a healthy product.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
If you do whey protein isolate, then you're getting to a true protein molecule too.
Okay, and one last question, and we got more on here, and I'll get to those online. But my husband has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. Should he limit milk consumption? So yes, probably. You're not a client, so I can't be absolute on that. But dairy milk consumption has hormones in it, and those hormones might be the driving factor as to why dairy milk consumption is a risk factor for prostate cancer, and even prostate cancer not doing or turning bad, okay, not surviving. So we want to be careful with that. I can't say never, but I do eat maybe a couple of servings of cheese or something like that a week, but no more than that. I don't have milk in the house. I don't have bread in the house. I have a high risk and concern about, don't have prostate cancer, but I'm at a very high risk. So I don't have milk at the house. I don't have bread at the house. So those are a couple of things I just choose to eliminate so I won't be tempted.
He threw his smoker out. He doesn't charcoal anymore. I mean,
I don't
there's a
charcoal.
lot of things that I never even thought
grill.
about.
I grill, and I still cook meat outside. I don't use my smoker any longer. I use it to dehydrate my foods rather than smoking. So I just don't use the smoking aspect of it.
Well, hey, let's close it out. We're pushed up to the hour. Josh Fate with Ultra Botanica. And Josh, so Ultra Botanica is the foundational supplements that Keith uses to battle cancer with his clients. And so these guys have been working together for a long time, and they sure bring a lot of knowledge to my group. So I want to thank you again for being here.
Oh yeah, sure. Thank
So
you.
Keith with PrevailOverCancer.com and Paul with Hyperbaric.plus. So come see us, come jump in the
And
chamber.
Josh with ultrabotanica.com.
Yes.
Did I not say .com? I'm sorry.
I don't remember.
Ultrabotanica.com.
There we go.
Can't leave that off. But you will find all that information if you look us up
On our
after,
websites,
after
yeah.
the videos. So thank you for being here, and Happy New Year again, and we look forward to seeing you next week. If there's something we haven't covered, you got questions, make that one of the questions.
definitely.
Give us some ideas of what is lacking in knowledge out there, and we'll get after it. So thank you all for being here, and we will see you next week.